Welcome to Wrasslin Raw!
All right, you're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when Raw became war and Attitude ruled. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Ryan Arico.
I gotta tell you, this feels pretty damn good.
Joe Giammatteo.
Sean, take it easy. Take it easy, Sean. Sean, take it easy. Sean, take it easy.
I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett. We're going to examine WWE history, one episode of Monday Night Raw at a time. In this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be talking about the Raw that aired on January 4th, 1999, the first Monday Night Raw of 1999. This Raw was recorded at the Worcester Centrum in Worcester, Massachusetts, and features Michael Cole and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Ready.
All right, then. Let's get into it. First off, I just want to say up at the top that this is in that place in Massachusetts that is, I think, pronounced Worcester, but it's not actually spelled like Worcester, just so our listeners
Worcester,
know.
I think is how it's spelled.
Yeah,
right?
It's one of those like kind of weird pronunciations that confuses people, like Wilkes-Barre or Wilkes-Barre or however you want to say it. Lancaster, yeah. So just to throw that out there, Worcester, Massachusetts. So this episode kicked off with what had to have been one of Vince McMahon's top 3 most erotic moments, getting kicked in the face by Shawn Michaels on Raw last week.
I thought that was a shotgun.
But it didn't end there. We ended up reliving the boyhood dream that is the Heartbreak Kid. We got an elegiac review of the love we all have had for Shawn, but most especially the love that Vince McMahon has had for Shawn Michaels. But no, that was a swerve. Turn it off. Get it off the screen. Vince came out the entryway in the arena saying to get that off the screen, and Vince and the full corporation came down to the ring. This was Vince, Shane, Briscoe, Patterson, the Big Boss Man, Ken Shamrock, The Rock, Test, and Kane. Much was being made about Shawn Michaels showing up here tonight on Raw. Shawn had made that threat on Heat last night, apparently, but Vince was pretty confident that Shawn would no-show. At one point, Jerry Briscoe taped a Briscoe Brothers Body Shop handwritten sign on Kane's back, just to make fun of the big idiot.
The freak.
That won't come back to bite him at all. The long and the short of all of this here is that Vince was here to warn anybody that might think of hurting or humiliating Shane in the future. And if they were to do so, Vince himself would have to take care of business. He was going to also be taking care of business with those who have hurt or humiliated Shane in the past. But that got interrupted by a view on the Titantron of Shawn Michaels entering the building. And sure enough, the Heartbreak Kid's music hit the PA system, and Shawn strutted on out to address Vin Man. But Shawn wasn't alone. Shawn came out with DX, the group that Shawn had been actively antagonizing for the past month plus. Shawn pointed out that Shawn's contract stipulated that Vince couldn't fire Shawn. The only way to get rid of Shawn is for him to resign, and that would never happen, as long as Shawn's smiling, of course. Shawn then brought up the scene from a few weeks ago where Vince was drawing the Royal Rumble entry numbers, and again reminded us that as commissioner, he has control over all active wrestlers except Stone Cold Steve Austin. As such, Shawn changed Vince's entrance number in the Rumble to number 2, coming in immediately after Stone Cold. Finally, Shawn capped it all off by promising Vince a, quote, Stone Cold surprise by the end of the evening. So, we have the stage set for the evening here. It seems like Shawn is going to be booking matches to mess with the corporation. And while I would have liked some kind of explanation about how Shawn and DX were all good now, I do like the fact that we're kicking 1999 off by taking the upper hand over Vince McMahon. So, Joe, what'd you have on our opening segment here?
I think this is a great start to the show, especially when you're in a competition with WCW, I think this is a great way to start the show off. We have Vince McMahon coming out here and doing his best facial expressions. It's all just really on display here. And I love when they do this gimmick of Vince fires someone and they find some loophole to stay in the company. I know they did it a lot with Stone Cold Steve Austin back in these days, and now we're doing this with Shawn Michaels, which is great. He didn't have a legal document, which was a little bit disappointing, but
yeah.
He had a figurative legal document, though.
Yeah, and he had basically Vince's word on video, so he at least had that. And Shawn Michaels telling us that Vince McMahon is now going to be number 2. I am definitely buying the pay-per-view if I wasn't already. So that's a great job of selling a pay-per-view that's going to happen in a couple of weeks. And I'm also not changing the channel tonight because there will be a Stone Cold surprise, and we haven't seen Stone Cold Steve Austin in a few weeks. So definitely going to keep it here on USA Network.
I completely agree. I'm keeping the channel tuned in, and I really liked how it started off. We got the super kick heard round the world, as Michael Cole put it. I just loved the shotgun sound effect that they added to every time the sweet chin music hit Vince's face. It was pretty beautiful. And then we got the slow-mo boyhood dream video, and it ended right on the boyhood dream quote. That's when McMahon came out interrupting. I thought all of this worked really good. You had the Patterson and Briscoe out here antagonizing Kane, which will, of course, lead into later in the night. And then Shawn Michaels coming out. We all predicted it on the last Raw that there would be some type of legal standing of some way that would make him still commissioner. And sure enough, he's commissioner. And to all of the crowd's surprise, he's here to make the corporation's life miserable now. So that's a great touch. Making Vince McMahon number 2, another fantastic touch. It feels like for the last month, the corporation have been having nothing but victories. And finally tonight, they're getting some losses. So that's good to watch, and it helps keep you interested in it. If they always won, it would get kind of old. So I thought all around, this was good storytelling, good character development. I loved it all.
Yeah, and just as a side note here, for all that we've heard about Jerry McDevitt on all of the modern wrestling podcasts, that's Vince and the WWF's lawyer there, there's so many loopholes in his contracts, so many ways to get out of what he does, and it makes me question the narrative overall about him. Maybe he's a lackey, a patsy, but we'll keep it going to our first match of the night. Steve Blackman defeats Ken Shamrock by pinfall in 3 minutes and 26 seconds. Believe it or not, I was actually looking forward to this. Blackman needs to get away from that disastrous angle with the Blue Blazer, and I thought maybe going up against Shamrock would be a good start to that. Like, it feels like they would be a natural matchup given their respective skills.
No.
At the start of this match, Michael Cole clarified that, and I quote, "I guess Shawn Michaels and DX have agreed to let bygones be bygones," end quote. So just put that in your pocket.
Pretend
for
it never
There's
happened.
your explanation.
Yeah. Well, that does play in a little bit later, though. I wanted to make a direct quote of that for a reason. There's a couple of these little nuggets throughout the episode. Speaking of nuggets, Dan Severn walked down to the ring in a hideous shirt as well as a neck brace. I forgot that he was still showing up for things, honestly. And in what I thought was a terrible turn of events, Shamrock decided to yell at Severn, causing Severn to jump up to the apron. Shamrock punched Severn, and while the ref was distracted with that, Billy Gunn ran in and delivered what will eventually be called the Fameasser to Shamrock, giving Blackman the pin and the win. It had been noted by commentary during the match that Billy Gunn has been saying that he's the rightful number 1 contender for the Intercontinental title. That goes back, about 3 weeks, guys? 4 weeks to where they had that match where it was robbed from him?
Yep.
Shamrock went running up the ramp, leaving his belts behind to try to follow Gunn, with Severn and Blackman left to just stand around. So I thought this was a mixed bag. I don't want Severn in the mix. I do want...
Of anything.
Yeah, of anything. I do want Blackman to have a new angle. I like Billy Gunn versus Shamrock. I thought the action between Blackman and Shamrock was serviceable, but I didn't like the way that this finish was booked at all. So I guess that kind of breaks me even on this one. Joe, what'd you think of it?
I agree with you. I didn't like the finish because I think Dan Severn just sucks, and he's not exciting to see at all. But
ever.
I do like this Billy Gunn... This story of Billy Gunn chasing after the Intercontinental title. I do like that so far. So, that's good to see, but it wasn't really part of the match. It was more the stuff that happened after the match. So, yeah, this was just a throwaway for me.
Yeah, it was. And like you, Bartlett, when it first started, I said to myself, this is quite a step up for Blackman. He's not fighting Goldust or Jeff Jarrett or the Blue Blazer. He's facing off against the IC title holder, Ken Shamrock. But the moment I saw dumb fuck Severn coming down with his stupid fucking neck brace, I lost all interest. I think even, was it the King that said, oh, he's still injured? Because it feels like it's been like 6 months he's been in this fucking neck brace. Longer than Stone Cold was out with his actual neck injury.
Yeah.
I'm with you both. I'm not hating on the Shamrock Billy Gunn feud. I think that could be a good match if we ever get it in a pay-per-view setting or something like that. But this match itself just further buried Blackman. At the beginning of it was hoping maybe it was going to be turning a new page for him.
Yeah, the sun will come out eventually for Steve Blackman, I think. If I remember correctly, he does get a little more entertaining at some point, not just with a big piece of cheese on his head, but... All right, we'll keep it going because next up we had a 10-10-220 rewind to 3 minutes ago. Billy Gunn delivering the Fameasser to Shamrock there. But we immediately then went backstage to where Shamrock had found Billy Gunn, and they were beating the ever-loving shit out of each other back there until multiple officials had to come in and separate them. That looked good. That was very encouraging for what a feud between the two of them could look like.
They're really pushing this feud. We basically had 3 segments of it. We had the match, we had the 10-10, 3-2-1 or whatever the fuck it is, and then the after segment. It's just Billy Gunn and Shamrock. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. Once that calmed down, Mankind came out to the ring to new entrance music. I didn't really like it. It was just a remix, rehash of his old stuff, but it was fine the way it was. It didn't need changed. And that came with a reminder about a couple of weeks ago when Mankind took on Shane McMahon, Briscoe, and Patterson. Mankind made mention of grabbing Patterson by the cack during all of that.
I didn't like Pat because he kept grabbing my pecker in the locker room.
I knew it.
What? He would grab my pecker.
Reversed. He had it reversed on him.
I knew it was coming. Mankind reminisced about being able to yell "suck it" and finding out that he likes to kick the McMahon's asses. Mankind also came out to ask for a championship title match against The Rock at the pay-per-view. He then coined his phrase, "Foley is good," at the end of his spiel before calling Vince out. And Vince did come out. Vince laid it on thick about how much of a disgrace Mankind would be as the WWF champion and that Mankind would never have that opportunity ever again. But Vince wanted to throw a little something to Mankind, though. Mankind could take on Triple H tonight with the winner getting a spot in the Royal Rumble. And Shane McMahon was going to be the guest referee for that match. That wrapped up, and we very briefly and quickly moved to Chyna backstage talking to what was obviously a drag queen, with commentary noting that we also saw Chyna.
Obvious to you, me, and Joe, maybe, but not Mark Henry.
Well.
Everyone but Mark Henry.
Mark's a little dick blind right now. The wrong head steering the car. Like
he's been having too much fun.
Yeah.
Right into another dick.
Commentary noted that we also saw Chyna on Heat last night with this same person, but no further details were given at this point. I really loved this brief tussle between Billy Gunn and Shamrock. That looked great. And at this point, I didn't remember at all where things were going with the drag queen. But These promos from both Mankind and Vince McMahon in this segment were phenomenal. Mick did an amazing job of getting himself over. Vince did an amazing job of putting Mick over in that way that heels can. They set things up for later with the match between Mankind and Triple H. And I loved this segment, this verbal joust between McMahon and Mankind. It was fantastic. Ryan, please, what'd you have on it?
I completely agree. It wasn't a very long segment, but both guys got straight to the point and delivered their lines perfectly. The crowd loved it, and we're going to get Mankind against Triple H, which we used to see that match kind of often about a year ago, and it was always a good match. It delivered, so I'm looking forward to that and wherever else things may go tonight.
Yeah, we are going to climax pretty hard at the end of this episode, and this is really just inserting the tip.
Yeah,
this is the, maybe not even
foreplay.
That, maybe just foreplay, yeah. So this is a very good promo, like you said, by Mankind, really getting himself over here as a babyface. And Vince McMahon got kind of personal with his jabs at Mick Foley, and I think he did it. It was in a good way because, again, it just gets Mick Foley over even more with these crowds because Vince is just really putting him down, basically for all the reasons that the crowds love him. So It really works.
Yeah, it was a hell of a thing to watch the build up in real time because you could even, the way the crowd was responding to this, you could hear them almost climaxing themselves. They were living vicariously through Mankind in that moment.
Yeah.
And it was
Hold on. Sexual
special.
Chocolate hasn't had his threesome yet.
Yeah, we had to calm that crowd down a little bit here with this next segment.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it. Our next match. Mark Henry defeats Goldust by disqualification in 3 minutes and 44 seconds. There was a lot of sign love for Mark Henry in the crowd. Just as much noise for Goldust, too, by the way. I don't want to pass up on that because the crowd was actually very excited to see Goldust. Mark Henry looked like an absolute beast in this. That's nothing new. And Goldust was selling beautifully for him. Again, nothing new there. This is a great matchup to put over the power of Mark Henry. But then Chyna and her quote-unquote girlfriend showed up at the top of the ramp. Sammy.
Oh,
Sammy.
Sammy, that makes it even worse. Yeah.
Even more androgynous. It's Pat.
Yeah.
and that you can tell we grew up in the early 90s with that. And that is when I remembered where all of this ends up going whenever they showed up at the top of the ramp. So I guess they had distracted Mark Henry enough during a match on Heat last night to have given Mark Henry a loss. I couldn't tell whether that was on purpose or accidental. It kind of came across as an accidental distraction. But Goldust, he ended up losing here because he just had a driving urge to punt Mark Henry's balls halfway across Worcester. Through a series of events, the Shattered Dreams put Mark to the mat, and Goldust walked out, having gotten the DQ because of that, while Chyna and her girlfriend were walking in. Chyna got on the microphone to make a confession. She said the other night that she and Mark spent together was incredible, but since Sexual Chocolate was too much man for one woman, Chyna wanted to introduce Mark to her friend Sammy, a tall, exotic dancer. And Chyna
with an Adam's apple.
And Chyna, and I was looking for it too.
And a terrible wig.
Yes, the wig was
and a muscular physique with wider shoulders than most women.
Well, Chyna's pretty muscular.
She is, but she still has a feminine physique to her, even with the muscularity.
I don't know. I was fooled.
Sammy also had a 5 o'clock shadow that had lasted until 9 o'clock when we were filming this. But Chyna, in a roundabout way, suggested a threesome between herself and Sammy and Mark just went into a dead faint right there in the ring. He almost flare-flopped it right down to the mat. Chyna and Sammy helped him up, and that is where this ended. I remain firmly behind Sexual Chocolate and his sexcapades. He is everything that Val Venus hoped to be, but better. And I'm starting to remember this story, and I can't wait for more. The added bonus in this case was that the match setting up this interaction between Mark Henry and Goldust, that match was pretty darn good too. So Ryan, what'd you think of this?
Yeah, I agree. We were just talking last match about Blackman finally moving away. Here's Goldust finally moving away from that shitty Blue Blazer storyline and had a pretty good match against Mark Henry. The one thing I did find a little bit odd, though, is it really feels like over the last month, they've been trying to build up Henry as a more likable babyface, but he was still wrestling as a heel. Just the way he was kind of doing the power moves and then he'd kind of turn to the crowd and holler at them. It just seemed a little bit off as far as trajectory of his character and how he was acting in the ring. But as short as the match was, pretty good work between the two guys. And then Chyna and her girlfriend came out. This story just keeps me coming back every week. Mark Henry fainting over the threesome proposition was just perfect. Just fucking completely straight leg flopped back and it looked great. I'm still fully invested in this story. I've been enjoying every moment of it.
Yeah, the match was good. The dick kick was nice. And this stuff after with Chyna and Sammy, I thought it was funny when Chyna said, "You're way too much man for one woman, Sexual Chocolate." I think that the chemistry between Chyna and Mark Henry and D-Lo, this whole story has been really good. I thought this was probably one of the weaker segments as far as like the chemistry goes. I don't know if maybe things just got a little weird and maybe uncomfortable for Chyna. She maybe just didn't feel strong about doing this angle, but I still thought it was funny with Mark Henry fainting in the ring and all of that. I thought it was pretty funny. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm thinking about old Sammy there.
Well, there's going to be plenty more of Sammy coming up here. In the next couple weeks.
Well, before we get there, things are going to get dark now because we went to some kind of torture dungeon.
Some fantasy castle somewhere.
Is that still Raw, or was that, I thought maybe that was Lethal Weapon with Mel Gibson. What was his name? Riggs, right?
Riggs.
Yeah. Hanging on with the chains.
I thought maybe it was Marcellus Wallace from Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Probably should have had a ball gag in at the very least.
Yeah.
And it really looked like somebody there in that torture dungeon felt the same way as we do about Dennis Knight, a.k.a. Phineas I. Godwin, the former member of Southern Justice, because he was chained to a pole and left to starve among the garbage.
And he was moaning.
Yes. And so that was a shocker, especially after this last drag queen angle that we just came away from to go to a torture dungeon. But we'll get more of that throughout the night because we had to quickly go into our next match. The Godfather versus Test ends up in a double disqualification in 1 minute and 59 seconds. The Godfather brought with him a wide selection of talent from Worcester, and while there was one hoe that was physically enhanced beyond the others, I'm still going to have to give the victory to the tall brunette in the gray dress. That's who caught my eye the most. Test came out, and I was trying so hard to remember when we were talking about the Test Diesel comparison. Was that during our 1999 in review episode?
No, it was his
debut,
first match, the tag team match. Yeah,
sorry, I could not remember when we talked about that. But even Test's entrance music is a knockoff of Diesel. You remember how we used to make fun of Diesel's entrance music for sounding like Roseanne? Well, it's this. This is the same thing, but it's been given the Jim Johnston remix treatment.
It's the Roseanne reboot.
It's got the harmonica. It's got the blues riffs. It's the same fucking song.
We're just missing Roseanne going,
it's just
at the end.
It's just a Jim Johnston demo. Maybe it'll change later.
Well, that, and we do never know when one of these entrances are just being replaced from what the real music was, because that happens every once in a while too. So
Yeah, but there was no reason to do it at this point, and he does end up getting a more fitting music for him. This is a test. Just as drab and lacking of charisma as the man himself. But anyway, back in the match here. Based on the events of Heat last night, there may be a feud brewing between Test and Val Venus, and I'm not thrilled with that idea at all. Sure enough, Val came out to sleaze the place up with just his very presence. And it was never explained what caused the double DQ, if that was even the correct match result. But of course, Test and Val Venus ended up going hard at it there at the outside, and we quickly moved away from this match. Nothing here is making me like Test or Val Venus anymore. At least the Godfather brings some eye candy down to the ring with him whenever he's not wrestling all that well. But as far as I'm concerned, the future isn't too bright for Test, in my opinion. So, Joe, what'd you think of this?
Yeah, I think seeing the Godfather with his hose is always entertaining. I do enjoy that, and I love seeing the hose cheer him on outside the ring. I think that's funny. I do enjoy that as well. And as far as Test goes, we know that he sucks. I don't know. I feel like there was opportunity here that just wasn't... They just didn't take advantage of it. Like, Test just, like, he really needs to figure out his ring gear because it's looked like shit so far. He just doesn't really have a look to him yet. You'd think they would have established that when he was in the wrestling school for months. But I guess they never did. So,
like at least a Motley Crue shirt or something to show that he was that bouncer.
Something. He's had different gear, like the first two matches that he's had, and it's just, he looks like shit.
He would probably look pretty good in like leather pants with like tassels down the sides and like a like a wrestling
gray and black shirt
and a glove with a leather glove.
Definitely a glove.
Yeah. And it's also weird that they're building a feud between Val Venus and Test. It just doesn't make any sense. Test just got here, first off, and he's in the corporation, and Val Venus has no beef with the corporation whatsoever. So I don't get that at all, and I'm not excited to see that, and it's probably going to end up being one of those stupid feuds that we hate, but yet it's going to go on for weeks and weeks and weeks, like the Blue Blazer and Steve Blackman and Jeff Jarrett. Whatever other garbage they throw into it.
It's not a shock, but Test did not look very good in the ring. No surprise there. And one thing I really don't get is if you're just bringing in Test and you're trying to make him look like one of your giants, why would you put him up against the Godfather, who's almost as tall and bigger than him? I just doesn't really seem like the smartest move. This match didn't go anywhere. The Godfather hit the Ho train, which Michael Cole called the choo-choo train. I didn't think I could hate the fucking man anymore. He brings me to a new low every week, Michael Cole. It's a real damn shame that we have to listen to him. JR could not come back any quicker. I'm not sure he could have really helped this match at all, but it surely would have had to have been at least a little better without Michael Cole doing the commentary.
Yeah, agreed on that. And unfortunately, that's going to play into things later here, too. But
maneuver.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say real quick that it's funny to me that in my dislike for this whole Test Val Venus thing that it looks like they're starting up, my actual problem is not with Test. He sucks, don't get me wrong. That's a given. But this is a perfect illustration of the problem with Val Venus. His gimmick is a one-trick pony, and if you're not going to have him cucking people, then he makes no sense in any context at all. What does a porn star have to do with Test? What does the porn star have to do with the corporation? On and on and on and on. It's just... It was good for what it was, and it was semi-entertaining at the beginning, but Val Venus is just not... I don't know how else to put it. He's a one-trick pony, and that pony has already died. So...
Yeah.
Once Right to Censor happens, maybe he'll get a little more interesting. I don't remember him being any more interesting in that, but...
Also, Test is a guy that clearly he's new, he needs a lot of help, and he's not going to get it with a guy like Val Venus.
Yes.
And that's ultimately what's going to lead to him sick of getting screwed.
Yeah.
Right.
To both of your points, it would have been, and especially it would fit with where they were at in all of their booking here, Test versus X-Pac. Come on.
Yeah,
what
would've
better
been perfect.
person to walk him through a match? What better person to make him look enormous? Seems intuitive, but I guess not.
Problem with that is X-Pac would go in the back and say, this guy sucks, and then they'd have to get rid of him. We just invested all this time into this guy.
We bought so many leather pants.
He's the shits.
Yeah. So after that match, we went backstage. DX was loitering around in a hallway. Shawn Michaels was there with them. We didn't get any updates there, but we did get a Glover Slam of the Week. Went back 2 weeks to when Mankind had his match with Shane McMahon, because that is the direct lead up to our next match. Triple H with Chyna defeats Mankind by pinfall in 2 minutes and 57 seconds with Shane McMahon as the guest referee. Just a quick reminder to our listeners that this match was to secure a single Royal Rumble spot, which I thought was hilarious because I was having a hard time thinking of 30 people worthwhile enough to include in the Royal Rumble just at the outset, let alone making these two fight for one spot. That out of the way, Shane had terrible music coming into this. They need to quickly get him to his thing. Chyna looking amazing here. I always have to mention that. And this match was fine, but nothing really to note in it because of how short it was, just shy of 3 minutes. But when Triple H was able to get Mankind into a roll-up, Shane McMahon gave a lightning fast count to give Try the pin and the win. Triple H didn't like that. He got on the mic and stated that when it comes to the WWF, business is business, and he's going to take the wins however he can get them. But he also wanted Mankind to have a happy new year. So Triple H hit Shane McMahon with a pedigree and left Shane laying there for Mankind. Mick put a pretty strong hold on Shane, threatening to break Shane's shoulder. Vince and Briscoe and Patterson came out to save Shane. Mankind then held them off by tightening down on that hold and demanded that Mankind get his title shot in a no DQ match against The Rock tonight, which Vince agreed to. Mankind released Shane. Mankind ran out through the crowd. Vince and the Stooges helped Shane out of the ring, but before they could make their way the whole way up the ramp, The Rock came out, angry that Vince had given in, with The Rock saying that he wasn't ready to wrestle, he didn't have his gear, etc. He got shouted down by Vince, and that's where this wound down. So, once again, this match, fine. That's the theme throughout the night for the most part. But there was nothing really to note because it was so short. The finish, though, and the way that we got to Mankind getting his title shot tonight, I thought were really well done. It's definitely keeping me tuned in. Ryan, what'd you have on this match?
I agree with what you're saying here. Mankind Triple H could have been more, but in the end, this was just a teaser. It's just a lead up for later in the night. They don't have enough time to actually put together a match, but after the quick count, I really loved Mankind grabbing Shane and putting him in this maneuver where he was going to break his frickin' shoulder. And that was enough to get Vince McMahon to basically do whatever Mankind wanted. Not just a title shot, but a no DQ title shot. So that just really upped the stakes for tonight for the main event. And if I was even contemplating changing the channel earlier, I sure as fuck ain't now.
Yeah, this was how the Mankind and Rock match was set up, and I didn't know that. Did you guys remember how the match was actually set up?
I did.
No.
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay, because I was expecting Shawn Michaels to set it up whenever Shawn got fired last week, and then we know this is a very important episode of Raw. I was expecting Shawn Michaels to set it up. I didn't know that it was set up like this.
What really made me remember it was, "I'll break your frickin' shoulder." I just remember that quote.
Okay,
Stick it in my head.
Yeah, this was fun to watch because I didn't remember it at all, and I think it was pretty well done. The only, I guess if I want to be a nitpicking dickbag, it's Triple H pedigreed the shit out of Shane McMahon, and where's his punishment? Because there's anyone that touches Shane is going to be punished.
Maybe that'll be next week.
Yeah, maybe.
Great setup, though. Great setup match. So we're getting more and more of those lately, but I'm glad that they're at least putting effort into at least the finishes, because that's making up for the lack of match content, if you will. But we quickly moved from that into our next match. Edge versus D-Lo Brown ends in a no contest in 4 minutes and 57 seconds. You would have never known that Edge was part of the Brood based on this. This
Nope.
entrance.
Last 2 weeks.
Yeah. Michael Cole informed us, he reminded us at the top of the match that he is a member of the Brood, but that was the only indication.
And I was so ready to give the entire Brood Jobber of the Week.
That's why they had to go away for a little bit.
Yeah. They caught word. Didn't
They
want
had to
risk
dodge
it.
that bullet.
Yeah.
So I at the top of this, I just have to point out that I am a total mark for D-Lo Brown. He was fantastic right out of the gate in this. Edge was okay. I thought that at points, Edge was behaving as though he was more over than he really is, if that makes sense. The way that he was playing to the crowd, something about it just rubbed me the wrong way. And I was like, dude, you're not that good yet. You need to just relax a little bit. The running powerbomb from D-Lo, that looked great. I hate to do it, but I have to give Michael Cole a little bit of credit for delivering with a straight voice the line, "Here comes PMS, it must be that time of the month."
Sad.
Terry Runnels and Jackie came down to the ring. Terry was holding her stomach. It didn't really look like, well, I'll get to that in a second. Terry climbed up on the ring stairs to antagonize D-Lo, and then fell off of the ring apron, clutching her stomach more. Terry was screeching, and they called for the paramedics to come out and start working on the fetus.
He's got to work on her.
D-Lo was very upset by this. The vampire in the ring just stood there watching and waiting for some blood, but none came. Michael Cole said that Terry is, quote, several months pregnant.
Keep in
unquote.
mind, Terry is several months pregnant.
And really, I thought that she looked like she just needed to take a big shit, and I find that whole pregnancy quote very hard to believe here.
So did Val Venus.
Yeah. After a commercial break, we ended up backstage where Terry was still screeching, and the doctor was unable to provide any new information, probably because he was using his stethoscope to try to find the fetal heartbeat inside of a constipated woman. That's it. It's matches like this that give us the best damn soap opera on television. Who would have thought that a match that featured a vampire and a man wearing a chest protector would end up in a miscarriage? It's just, it's beautiful. Joe, what'd you have on this?
Yeah, and to go along with that soap opera aspect of it, this was some of the worst acting I've ever seen in my life. So, and I've seen a lot of soap operas in my day, and this was really bad.
Yeah, right up there with him.
This is it, guys. This is what this episode is famous for. Terry losing her baby.
Yep.
Nothing
else. Yeah. So yeah, this is, well, and it's funny because I remembered this. And this is, one of you, it might have been you, Bartlett, that was asking, is Terry still pregnant like several weeks ago? And
yeah.
This is what I was thinking of. I was like, oh, we're going to get there. Don't you worry.
Okay,
and
yeah.
this was it. So something tells me that they're just going to pretend this never happened. I'm going to go ahead and make that bet, but we'll see where it goes.
Bartlett, you started this off giving Michael Cole some credit for saying it must be that time of the month. I'm going to take away all credit because he busted out at the bare minimum 14 fucking maneuvers in this match. I swear he uses it more than Vince did at this point. Terry, the moment she fell from those stairs, Joe, I thought about your comment because then I was like, oh, I remember the miscarriage fucking storyline now. So that was immediately where my mind went, and totally agree. Some of the worst acting I've ever seen. Fuck, a miscarriage angle. It's right up there with murder-suicide hawk angle for Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
It's funny because I was starting to get a Mandela effect going because I feel like
You're like, did that happen?
I was like, I swear this happened, but did we already miss it, or did they maybe delete it from
Or
the
it was
episodes
on Heat or something?
Yeah, but here it was.
Front and center.
Yeah.
We needed to ring in the new year with a miscarriage. Baby New Year is no more. Yeah, totally did not remember this part of things. Like, it's starting to come back to me a little bit now that we got to this, but yeah.
Really good comparison to the Hawk thing because I feel like
Same level, yeah.
same level, and like I said, we're just gonna pretend it never happened, more than likely.
All right, so after that, the lights went out and Hellfire and Brimstone came out. Shane McMahon was still in his referee garb as he led Kane and Patterson and Briscoe down to the ring. Kane still had that sign taped to his back. Shane got on the mic to announce a special treat, which takes us into our next match. Kane defeats Pat Patterson and Jerry Briscoe in a 2-on-1 handicap match. The bell never got rang for this, so I didn't have a formal match time on it. But before any action happened, Vince came out at the top of the entryway to remind us that Vince had promised retribution upon anybody that had contributed to Shane's emotional scarring, and he then ordered Kane to make the Stooges pay. And this was less a real match and more just a spectacle. Patterson tried to bring a chair into the ring. Kane ended up punting it pretty damn hard. It looked like that chair had enough momentum to make it into the crowd. And by the crowd noise and reaction, I think it might have. I have to note that both Briscoe and Patterson got choke slams. Both of them came down on their left shoulders, which just looked painful as hell, especially for older gentlemen such as themselves. Kane then started to go after Shane McMahon. That caused Vince to remind Kane that Kane could be sent back to the asylum at any point, so Kane laid off and then exited with Shane and Vince while the Stooges were left to scrape themselves off the mat. So, I popped for this, even though the selling from Briscoe and Patterson wasn't very good, but I really enjoyed the story here. This is just that perfect comeuppance for the ass-licking, brown-nosing shitbags, the Stooges, and they never fail to entertain me even when they're getting the shit kicked out of them. So, Ryan, what'd you think of this?
I agree. This was Briscoe and Patterson's second hard time payback. This is good storytelling. We've had weeks of Patterson and Briscoe just humiliating Kane and mocking him behind his back. And this was Kane getting to beat the ever-living shit out of both of them. It was fun to watch. As you said, they maybe didn't sell all so great, but they're so fucking hateable that I don't think the crowd really cares how good are they. They just wanted to see Kane beat the shit out of them, and they were going to cheer for it. I then like playing up on how crazy Kane is and his flurry. He grabs Shane by the goozle until McMahon tells him, "No, Kane, you'll go back." And then I also really, Shane, I said this a few weeks ago, completely different character than Vince, but still fantastic. Just barking in Kane's ear going up the ramp. "Well, you don't touch me. You don't touch me. I'm the $1 million Nepo baby. You can't touch me." Great job out of really everyone involved. I loved this. It was short and just a lot of just crowd service.
Yeah, this was a good example of we make movies, pal situation, because it's the villain telling his henchmen to take these guys out, which is great to see. And yeah, I loved it when Vince said, no, Kane, you're going to go back. And then Michael Cole, he means the insane asylum.
And then the King, you mean the nutty bin.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was entertaining for sure.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then after all of that, like, happiness and seeing this, it kind of got taken down a little bit because we went back to that torture dungeon again.
I'm serious when I say, like, if I was watching this, I would wonder, like, am I still watching Raw?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is this?
Thankfully, nobody had unchained Dennis Knight, a.k.a. Phineas I. Godwin. The Acolytes did show up, and they were saying, "It's time," and "He wants you," before unchaining him and taking the one-time member of Southern Justice away.
Watching this is interesting because I wonder if they really had higher hopes for Dennis Knight and this new gimmick that they're going to give him.
I feel like they were just trying to fill numbers for the new faction.
I guess, yeah. Yeah.
Because, come on, what could you expect out of Phineas?
I really think they were just doing a solid for Taker because he's part of the BSK.
Right, yeah.
And he's just, Taker was like, "Hey, you got to hire him." And Vince was like, "Yep, okay."
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So from there, we went into our next match. The Road Dogg defeats Al Snow by pinfall in 8 minutes and 38 seconds to retain the WWF Hardcore Championship. Al Snow is still covered in that mysterious red liquid. The head still looks like hell. I honestly think they ruined Al Snow with the bloodbath. Ruined Al Snow because they ruined Head. He doesn't have the same gimmick anymore. He doesn't have the same look anymore. I know it's just like a nitpicking dickbag thing, but like I really
That's
think
your thing.
I really well it is, but I really think that the bloodbath ruined Al Snow.
He's not even up against a Brood guy tonight.
No.
Right. We're just, but we're still sticking with it, with the bloody clothes and the head being mutilated. And Al Snow hid behind the curtain after his entrance up there at the top of the ramp and attacked the Road Dogg during his entrance right from the get-go, which I liked. That's a good indicator of the potential of these hardcore matches. The Road Dogg pulled a table out from under the ring, and that's a first there. We've got our first table in a hardcore match, but Al ended up going through it by himself after the Road Dogg moved out of the way. Al got his brain scrambled a few times with a baking sheet before another table came out. Al ended up getting hip-tossed through it. They ended up backstage in some kind of janitorial area. And moving through that, I loved Al Snow whipping potted plants at the Road Dogg's head. That looked great.
And Michael Cole, that's a potted plant.
Yeah. I was trying so hard to tune him out during all of this because Al Snow was just fucking nailing Road Dogg in the head with those. Like, he wasn't pulling his punches at all with that.
No,
He was exploding those cheap plastic planting.
It had to hurt.
It had to.
Dirt and shit, yeah.
So they ended up outside the arena, and it was snowing there. They were sliding all over the place. I thought that was funny. Al Snow, of course, ended up getting hit with a snow shovel. And Road Dogg ended up getting the victory after pile driving Snow through a stack of pallets and garbage. And then made his way back to the ring to milk the crowd. So I feel like I'm sounding like a broken record, but it's been really interesting watching the evolution of the WWF hardcore match. Now that we've figured out the best weapons to use, this was a test drive of how far backstage they could take it, not to mention taking it outside too. And I think what we saw in this match is that they're discovering that they can set up stages for these matches for the competitors to progress through until they get to the finish. That way you can just book the match through each stage. You don't have to say, well, I'm going to do a pile driver into a roll up and you're going to kick, and like the way that they would have to lay out a match, well, traditional matches. In this, they can just say, we're going to beat each other with anything that we can find until we get to about the 2-minute mark, and then we need to move to the next area. Had the kegs arranged in a suspicious looking pyramid that nobody in their right mind would do under normal circumstances. It was very neat to watch this because of that evolution. So, Joe, what'd you have on this match?
I have to say that, so the Hardcore Championship was gifted to Mankind by Vince McMahon not very long ago, just a few months ago. And obviously Mankind, Mick Foley is like the king of hardcore for our generation. But I have to say again, like, I am really enjoying Road Dogg's hardcore matches. I
completely agree.
I think he deserves more credit because Mankind didn't have that title for very long because he moved on to other stuff, but the Road Dogg is keeping it going. Do you guys remember when D-Lo was European champ and we loved it, and then they gave it to X-Pac and it was like, it just doesn't feel right anymore, like this doesn't feel exciting. That is the total opposite here with the hardcore belt, because Road Dogg has it now, took it from Mankind, and he's having great hardcore matches with it, so it's fun to watch.
Well, and what's hilarious is we were all pretty down on the Road Dogg. Right leading it. Like, we were all just like, God, he's fucking terrible. And then, boom, this happened and all of us, 360.
Yep.
Or I guess 180.
Yeah.
I completely agree. It seems like they improve upon the hardcore matches a little bit more and more every week. I really loved the way it started. Al Snow attacking Road Dogg right out of the entranceway, because I feel like that's going to be another kind of common thing in these hardcore matches, is that they don't start with the bell ringing in the middle of the ring. That isn't how it's going to work moving forward. Then the cookie sheet. We talked about how beautiful that cookie sheet is, and the Road Dogg bent it back into shape and wrapped it around Snow's head 3 separate times. That was fucking fantastic. And then, as you pointed out, they progressed through the arena. First, they were out in the crowd, then they were in the janitor's cage, then we had potted plants being thrown. Bartlett, a few weeks ago, you said that hardcore match reminded you of one of those old video games.
Yeah.
To me, this really felt like that.
Yeah.
Because those video games, you always had those little, as long as you Irish whipped the guy in the right area, you could go to a new area of the building to start having fun. And I really loved the finisher, this pile drive through a pile of pallets. It's a great visual, even though everything's set up. It's just a very, very cool visual. I thought this was a hell of a match. I think these hardcore matches just keep on getting better and better. And I totally agree, Joe. I can't believe how much I'm talking up Road Dogg the last few weeks.
Yeah, agreed with that too. It's such a great turnaround. It almost felt like Joe, you were mentioning about the Mandela effect. I was thinking about back to being a teenager, and I was like, I could have swore I really liked the Road Dogg for some reason.
Exact same thing. I was like, I don't remember hating the Road Dogg like I do right now, and now I'm remembering why.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So after that, we got another scene from the torture dungeon. And this was the Acolytes throwing Dennis Knight, formerly Phineas I. Godwin, formerly a member of Southern Justice, through a doorway into a blinding white light where a chorus of screams seemed to be emanating from before the door shut on its own and the Acolytes took up guard poses outside the door. After a commercial break, we came back to D-Generation X walking along in one of the back hallways. Shawn Michaels was there with them and he was leaving to get that stone cold surprise. But the biggest detail here was Shawn saying, "I'll be right back," as he was leaving, but DX saying things like, maybe, maybe not, and what goes around comes around. After Shawn exited the door. Outside, Shawn had discovered that the key that he had been given by Triple H wasn't correct for the car parked outside, and Shawn was now locked outside alone. And just before we broke to commercial, a voice yelled, "Hey, Shawn!" and Michaels turned around to look behind him in surprise. When we came back from that commercial, we were given a live shot of Shawn Michaels beaten and bloody, thrown across the hood of a car. We came to find out that it had been the Big Boss Man, and what sounded like Vince, probably the other members of the corporation, had been in there too, and they had jumped Shawn like a group of Marines. They did a great job of making Shawn look like he had been absolutely wrecked. The paramedics were there. They started working on Shawn. He got a neck brace for good measure before being loaded into the back of an ambulance and driven to an undisclosed medical facility. So these were some really good final updates on these mini stories in this episode. And while the whole Dennis Knight thing, I think, is interesting in the fact that, like Joe, you were saying that back then, if you had tuned in, you wouldn't have known that this was WWE. And I completely agree with that. But this gave me I couldn't put my finger on it at first, but by this point, this was just screaming that stupid Undertaker movie cinematic match with who was it? AJ Styles he had that with? AJ
Styles, yep. Mm-hmm. A lot of people consider that a fantastic match.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that style of anything, and I actually I like this story with Dennis Knight just for what it is and the way it's being presented now, but it's that part of it that doesn't look like a WWF program that I still don't like. It's filmed differently, and that's what I also didn't like about the whole Undertaker AJ Styles match. I know that's what they were going for.
That's been the Undertaker's thing since he first came in here in the early 90s. Every time they do these segments with him, they feel different.
I disagree with that, because I think that even when we're talking about Paul Bearer and the Undertaker standing over the grave of Undertaker's parents, like I'm talking like the wild
that
shit.
That felt like a soap opera.
See, that didn't feel the same way that this does to me. That felt legitimate. This doesn't. It's still fun. It's still fun to watch. I'm not complaining about it entirely because God only knows we need more Dennis Knight in our lives. But it's the way it's filmed. I can't put it a different way than that. It's a different video quality.
It is, but to me, it didn't feel any different than like Mankind's first vignette where he was like petting the rat, or so, like it's filmed in that same way.
No, I disagree again. I think that the Mankind stuff is just like the old Undertaker stuff. Agree to disagree.
I think you just dislike the Undertaker, and
I think that's what it is. Yeah,
you're grasping at straws here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that very well may be the case. But what I did really like was how much Shawn Michaels was made to look like he was almost murdered. They put his face through the windshield. Well, they broke the windshield and he like laid down in it. But like they set that scene up amazing.
The prom promise.
Yes,
Exactly.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. All of that being said, Ryan, what'd you think of this segment?
I'm going to start with the Phineas. Anyone out there, if you're so brain dead that you don't understand what we've been burying the lead here, this is the Undertaker and the Ministry is what's being started here. And what I really liked about what's happening right now is they finally did exactly what we were asking for them to do. Make the Undertaker disappear for a month or two.
Yep.
He needed to go away so we could miss him. I'm looking forward to where this is heading. I enjoyed this footage, regardless if you did or not. But I do completely agree with you on the Shawn Michaels part of it. I thought this was perfect. This brutal scene was laid out. I really don't have anything to really add. The only drawback, of course, was Michael Cole saying, "Is this the dismemberment that Mr. McMahon was promising?" Yeah. No, you fucking idiot. This wasn't it. What a fucking jackass.
I have probably a dumb question. I guess maybe I just haven't been paying close enough attention. Do we know that the Acolytes, are they being called the Acolytes? They are, right?
Yes. Yeah, they are the Acolytes now.
And do we know that they are associated with The Undertaker?
No.
Okay, so
we know they are associated with whoever him is that. Okay, but not who him is.
Yeah, I guess we have to place ourselves in that time period to know. Like, I don't really know what's going on here. Like,
right.
I don't know what's going on. I guess if you're really smart to the business, you would maybe know that this is the Undertaker.
If you're watching this live, you probably think maybe it's a new person, or
right,
like because they're not really giving you any hints that it's the Undertaker.
Yes, and that is a reason why I will say that I am interested in this. If I'm watching this in 1999, like I'm wondering what the hell are they doing? What are they talking about? Forming a new stable of some kind? I don't know. So that's my thoughts on that. Shawn Michaels, I think, again, if you're smart to the business, if you will, you probably know, okay, well, this guy can't take bumps. He maybe needs some time off. He's maybe getting surgery or something where they're setting this up.
He may never wrestle again.
Yeah, so I thought this was very well done, and I think it was pretty good timing because now you're thinking, what the fuck? We're not going to get our Stone Cold surprise while Shawn is bloody on a car. And Earl Hebner saying, "Shawn, take it easy" 1,000 times was just throwing me off. Like, I hated it so much. And I'm glad you mentioned Michael Cole because this is the part of the show, surprisingly, this is the part of the show where I thought, man, I wish JR was here.
Yes.
More so than what's going to happen next, and I'll explain why. But Michael Cole pissed me off here. It was so bad. This could have been so much better had it been JR. Yeah. So that was disappointing, but I do like what they did here, especially tonight with Shawn starting off this show, basically turning babyface last week with the Sweet Chin music and then starting off the show. Now he's just a bigger babyface. Now you're just waiting for him to come back and just make the corporation's life a living hell. So that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, agreed. And I think it's funny that all three of us ended up fed up with Michael Cole, but at different points. Like, Ryan, it seems like you were fed up pretty early on. Joe, you're fed up here.
I pretty much get fed up the moment I hear his fucking voice at this point.
Yeah.
Mr. Austin.
But I try to do a pretty good job of filtering him out, or at least not focusing on him as much. Where I started to really, really hate the motherfucker is in our final match of the night. Mankind with D-Generation X defeats The Rock with the Corporation by pinfall in 8 minutes and 48 seconds in a no DQ match to win the WWF Championship.
By God.
So this match, it made me feel like The Rock has taken a little bit of a back seat lately. He hasn't done much since winning the title. Like, it's been more about the corporation than it's been about The Rock.
I've almost wondered if he tweaked something, because we really haven't seen him the last few weeks that much.
I think, and this is just me guessing, but I think they were really trying to bank on him and Austin has been out. So they were just backburnering The Rock until Austin can come back. But I'm just making shit up with that. But
yeah.
Still, he hasn't been as active as the rest of the corporation has been. I love that The Rock didn't have his usual wrestling gear on. It was just a great little detail to prop up the story.
The tracksuit.
Yeah.
Do we know why? Do we know why?
No.
I know why. This is breast reduction surgery Rock. This is when he had...
Oh, so that's why he's been out.
He was self-conscious about his bitch tits and had surgery, and the tracksuit is covering up whatever he's healing from.
It's all making sense now.
Yeah.
All making sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I saw that he had his Brahma bull tights on underneath the tracksuit, and I was like, well, I guess he did have his gear, but probably not. But that explains a lot. I completely forgot about all of that. The run into the stairs and the following hits from the stairs, brutal as hell. That looked so fucking rough. I really thought that the double hit from the stairs down onto the stairs was going to do some real damage.
Scrambled his brains.
Yeah.
Again.
Well, what I thought really scrambled his brains was the shot from the ring bell. That looked and sounded
great.
That
was fantastic, yeah.
The rock bottom through the announce table, that was worth all of the replays that we got out of it. And here, Michael Cole started describing Mankind's boyhood dream, and that was not welcome to me at all. This is where I really started feeling JR's absence in this match, because that was just filler. That was just filler for Michael Cole to be talking and not actually talking about the match itself, more building up Mick. I know he was trying to build up to the finish of this, but there were better ways to do it, and I think JR could have. Keeping in mind that this was no disqualification, we had interference from the Big Boss Man, a hit to the head with the title belt, a DDT on the belt, plenty of near falls. Shamrock saved The Rock from Socko with a chair shot to Mankind's back. That drew in Billy Gunn. DX and the Corporation then started going at it at the outside, and just then the glass broke and the crowd exploded as Stone Cold Steve Austin came out to blast The Rock with that chair, drag Mankind on top of The Rock, and set up one of the most electrifying pinfalls we have ever covered on this podcast. DX got in the ring to hoist Mankind up as Michael Cole kept yelling about the various details of Mick Foley's boyhood dream. Vince and The Rock's reactions to this were great, as well as Mankind's, and the celebration continued as we faded to black. Guys, this is one of the top moments in Raw history. The first time Mick Foley wins the WWF Championship. And as I stated, one of the biggest crowd pops for a pinfall that we've seen in a very long time.
Isn't this moment at least said or claimed to be the loudest pop ever in a building?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm pretty sure they make that claim, that it was like 3,000 decibels or something.
They had to repair the roof after.
Yeah.
I remember when this happened back in the day, but like so many other things that we watch, like I don't remember the exact next steps or how long this run lasts. So I'm just going to enjoy it while it's here. Joe, what'd you think of our final match and the way that Raw ended tonight?
Well, there's a lot to this. This is... We've been covering Monday Night Raw. Technically, this is January 1999. This is 6-year anniversary of Raw as a show. I think we saw the world title change one other time, right? It was Sid, I think, beating Bret Hart. So this putting yourself back in the 90s, like this just didn't happen very often, where you were seeing title changes on cable TV for free. So this was really something special. And there was a lot of stuff about this match that was fun to watch, but I cannot get away from how perfectly laid out this finish was. This is just, I hope this was Pat Patterson, because he gets a lot of credit for touching people's peckers and building great finishes. But it just doesn't get better. It doesn't get better than this. This is possibly one of the best finishes ever booked in the history of wrestling. I mean,
it's up there.
Whoever laid this out, just everybody just did their part. Shamrock with the chair that triggers Billy Gunn, then the little brawl outside, The Rock just perfectly stumbling into that chair shot to the dome. I hit rewind on this like 6 times. Like I watched this.
Just the fucking sound of the crowd, the moment that...
glass breaking. I hit rewind right before the glass breaking like 6 times. There's a slight delay in the crowd pop, but this crowd was relatively quiet the entire night. And then it just absolutely exploded. The other thing that's great is this was completely unexpected. We did not expect Steve Austin to show up, because especially after taking out Shawn Michaels kind of helped this, because now there's no other tease that Steve Austin is here. There were no Austin chants from this crowd, so we just didn't see it coming. The other thing is there's no cell phones in the building. It's 1999. Yeah. People just fucking lose their mind. Pure insanity. I would say that I wish JR was here for this, but I can honestly say that this crowd was so loud and explosive that I'm not even sure it would matter. At least in this
it would have helped.
Moment. But afterwards, if I'm on commentary, I'm probably going to act like I can't believe what I just saw. And they didn't take that route. It was the boyhood dream route. But I would have said, like, I cannot believe what I just witnessed. Like, that would have been the angle that I would take with that. But they suck. And also, Vince McMahon was hilarious after this match. No, not anybody but him.
So perfect.
Anybody but him. That makes me want to puke.
His face, too. Not just his words, but his face of just utter disgust.
Yes, Vince McMahon was just on point tonight. It was just beautiful. Beautifully executed. Probably the greatest finish ever in the history of wrestling.
Every fucking person involved was on point tonight. Another memorable match delivered by Mick Foley. That seems to be an ongoing theme in the last year. This is one of those matches that I absolutely remember watching live 25 plus years ago. And this was a main event worthy pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But we got it for free on Monday night. And Joe, you'd probably be the one that could correct me on this, but I believe as the story goes, this was what put the nail in the coffin of the Monday Night Wars, right? This was kind of like what most people look at as the official end. WCW isn't a competitor anymore. WWF's running away with it.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Bartlett, you brought up a couple weeks ago that you hope The Rock wouldn't continue to do the headphones and at the commentary table and spit in the face too many times. They mixed it up here. He tried to do it, but Mankind punches him right in the kisser, right as he's about to fucking spit the water. Huge baby face push for Mankind tonight. He takes the people's elbow, kicks out of it, heavyweight title to the face, kicks out of it. Just a glorious way of building up the underdog story. Corporation tries to ruin things, but Stone Cold, music hits, everyone goes crazy, and Mick fucking Foley gets the fucking win. Absolute amazing moment. I couldn't be happier for Mick Foley. I loved seeing him go corner to corner with the title up and hearing the crowd chant. Every fucking second of this was amazing. And what an absolute banger of a way to start off 99. Fuck yeah, brother.
Yeah, completely agreed. And I'm
fully erect. Fully erect.
Climaxed.
Yeah.
I thought I heard a thump. Yeah, it was really, really great. What's the word that I'm looking for? Cathartic. It was very cathartic to see this because it was like we've been getting treated to Vince getting his comeuppance by Stone Cold for a while now. And it's been entertaining, and I'm not complaining about any of that in the least bit. But throughout all of it, Mick Foley has been the punching bag. He's been the one getting humiliated.
Stone Cold wasn't an underdog.
No, he wasn't, and you're right in that.
And I think that's what the difference is.
But, well, Stone Cold also wasn't consistently being humiliated, talked down on, insulted, like earlier tonight, whenever Vince and Mick had their back and forth. Joe, one of you guys, I think it was Joe, mentioned that how personal it became. And that's par for the course with the way that they have treated Mick Foley to everybody's benefit. It's done nothing but help him in the long run, but it's just, it's that realization that a schlub can win the title. You don't have to be a Stone Cold.
And by the way, he looked like absolute shit tonight. Like his
yes, he did.
His shirt was all shredded up.
Completely shredded, yeah.
It was not a good look, but exciting. Nevertheless.
Yeah. Yes. Well, as I stated, we faded to black, so let's take it on over to highlights, lowlights, and our favorite signs. Ryan, why don't you take that first?
Highlight. I don't think this is going to be any surprise. It's a no-brainer. Mick Foley winning the fucking heavyweight title. Low light, there were a few lower spots of this episode, but I'm so happy. No low light.
Huh.
Yeah, nice.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
And to go along, my favorite sign, to just stick with my mankind loving theme of the night, I'm going to go with my favorite sign, or signs, I should say, Foley is God. Because fuck yeah.
Yeah, my highlight specifically, I'll get a little bit more specific with it, and that is not to take any credit away from Mankind, but just the pop for Stone Cold Steve Austin's music. To be in that arena, like Massachusetts, just that was just pure insanity there. It was They really did. They really did, and it didn't stop either. It wasn't just when they heard the music. It was like the whole time, the whole finish. And my low light is going to be the fact that we were reminded that Dan Severn still exists.
I already forgot about it.
Yeah. And I will agree with you, Ryan. Foley is God. There were several signs in the crowd with that. This is Mick Foley's night, so I'm going to go with Foley is God sign as my favorite as well.
Yeah, so I did not get specific. I was just reveling in the experience here. So
climaxing.
Highlight, yes. Obviously, highlight, Mankind wins the title. But low light was Michael Cole announcing Mankind winning the title.
Fair.
There were a couple moments where he took me out of it. You could have ended at
Michael Cole.
Well,
you had me at Michael Cole.
Yeah.
He straight up took me out of it for a couple brief moments with some of the stupid shit that he was saying. And then it would go back to like a screen of like Vince or Mick or one of the two. And then I'd be like, oh, no, this is great. And then Michael Cole would say something again. And I'd be like, motherfuck.
Well, more reason to be jealous of the people in the crowd. They didn't have to hear Michael Cole.
Yes. And as far as favorite signs go, you guys both mentioned plenty of Foley signs in the crowd tonight, but I was taken aback at the lack of creativity in Worcester, Mass. Not a whole lot of signs in general, and what there were just very simple signs such as Foley is God. But I ended up having to go with Got Sausage. Just because I love the absurd. So,
and I got to bring up, this kind of is a trend for the New England states. Wasn't that the last time we were disappointed in the signs was Providence, Rhode Island? Wasn't it?
Harvard, or not Harvard, the Yale. What is that? New Haven.
I just remember it being
New
England.
Yeah,
New Haven.
New Haven, Connecticut.
Yep.
Yeah. To be fair, this crowd didn't have a ton of stuff to be excited about, and they just had no idea that they were going to get this ending.
They were saving it all for the end.
They climaxed with us.
Yeah. I can't fault them too much for they've got quite a bit of Puritan left in them up there in New England. The Puritan sensibilities. So
yeah.
fantastic episode here. Joseph, do you happen to have any contemporary wrestling news from on and around January 4th, 1999 for us?
I do. I have some interesting things about tonight's main event from Dave Meltzer, a couple of things that you guys probably were not aware of. But before I get into that, Dave Meltzer he reported that Sam Muchnick passed away on December 30th, 1998. He was a beloved promoter for the NWA. He was 93 years old, so he lived a full life.
Yeah,
Dave Meltzer wrote a lengthy article praising Sam's work in the Wrestling Observer this week.
See, I thought you were talking about the reporter that's a hater of wrestling.
No, they would praise. They would be happy with his. Yeah,
but his name was very close. It's like Muchnick.
Yeah,
or something,
I forget what his name is, but it is close. Yeah, but let's talk about the big night here on USA Network. WWF aired the Mick Foley title win over The Rock, which was taped on December 29th. So this was not live, as we know. Thanks to Tony Schiavone, we know that this was a taped show. Now, Dave Meltzer says that the WWF on its online site heavily publicized the fact that the title change was taped and it would air, so they felt that fans would being told in advance that a title change was taped and going to air, that would boost their ratings on a very competitive night. So apparently WWF spoiled on their website that this was going to happen.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I could see pushing that there'll be a title match, but to say that it's going to change hands, that anyone in that arena is going to immediately know Mankind's going to win this match.
Yeah, and I don't know, I will admit, I don't know the details on that. I don't know if they said Foley was going to win, or if they just said Foley's going to get a shot at the title, or what those details are, but they did have something on their website kind of teasing that. Now, Nitro was also pushing Goldberg versus Kevin Nash from the Georgia Dome. There was also a National College Football Championship this night, so there was a lot of competition this night, which is probably one of the reasons why WWF decided to make this decision and book this show. Steve Austin doing a run-in and hitting The Rock with a chair was not the planned finish of the match, because Austin was originally not going to be at this TV taping. But when he flew in for the Super Bowl commercial taping, they asked him to be involved in this title match finish. So I don't know what the original plan was, but it was not involving Steve Austin. Dave Meltzer talked about the match. He said, aside from a spot where The Rock used the rock bottom through the announcer's table, the match was nothing special, but the post-match celebration was tremendous. So he didn't love the match itself, but seems like he liked the booking.
Not a surprise out of him.
Yeah. This was also the same night I mentioned Kevin Nash and Goldberg were being advertised, but this was also the same night that WCW had the infamous Finger Poke of Doom episode.
Ooh.
Really?
Wow.
Same night.
Same night.
Man, could they have picked a worse timing to put that?
Yes.
I think that probably plays into why it was the ultimate death nail.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was also... This is a Dave Meltzer quote. He says, this was also during the WCW show on 2 occasions. The chimpanzees running WCW told Tony Schiavone to say that Raw was taped and that Foley would be winning the title on the opposition show, so don't switch channels. Nitro was beyond awful, and he was telling people there's a world title change going to happen on the other channel. Who runs this circus? Tony Schiavone also knocked and was laughing about a company that would make Foley their champion, which isn't going to help Tony Schiavone's rep with wrestling fans since Foley is so universally respected.
Yeah.
WWF, I did not catch this, maybe you guys did. WWF shot back when they heard what was being said, since even though the show is taped, the commentary is done live, and said they were going to present a main event that starts 2 that starts 2 minutes before the show goes off air and consists of nothing but walking and talking. So I learned something here. The commentary is done live. I didn't know that. And he said that they said that they were mocking WCW before this match and said that they were going to have this main event start 2 minutes before the show goes off air and do nothing but walking and talking. I didn't catch that.
I didn't either.
I didn't, me neither.
Yeah, he claims that happened.
Guess we're not the smart fan.
Yeah. So just a couple things I learned by reading The Observer there, just a few items there. The last item that I have here is that Meltzer's reporting that the WWF is planning a big angle for The Undertaker's return next weekend in Houston on Raw. So we'll see how that goes. And that is all.
All right. Thank you, Joseph. Illuminating as always. I kind of want a little more time without The Undertaker. Just a little bit.
We know.
And that might happen, honestly. I'm not sure if this is actually true or not, but that's what he was reporting.
Yeah. What I really want is for him to come out in sweatpants and a do-rag driving a motorcycle.
Yes.
That's when you'll finally become an Undertaker fan.
But I'll take his absence.
Once he starts coming out to rolling.
So I can lean back in my office chair and do the driving thing while I'm watching.
Revving the engine.
Yep. I live vicariously through
die.
Mr. Sweatpants.
I hope you're tortured like Dennis Knight.
So that's it, folks. We are done with this one. I want to thank you again for joining us. If you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can email us at wrasslinraw@gmail.com. Check us out on social media and on every podcast subscription platform. While you're there, don't forget to give us a like and a follow and a 5-star rating. Next time on Wrasslin Raw, we're going to take a look at the Raw that aired on January 11th, 1999, with matches featuring Test, Luna Vachon, and many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason, and this has been Wrasslin Raw.